What's going on, guys? My name is Ryan, and I'll be your host for the IIFYPodcast radio. I am extremely excited to be here, but before we start, if there's anyone out there who has no idea what IIFYM is or how to calculate their macros, please email us. We're having a lifetime free promotion, IIFYMapparelcoaching@gmail.com.
We're back again. Today we're actually going to talk about something extremely pertinent for all you personal trainers out there. Actually, this is, I'd say, for personal trainers and for anyone looking to get anyone else into this lifestyle by themselves. So, first I'd like to start off by saying there is a difference between optimal and being able to do things sustainably in the most optimal sense. So there is, on two hands you have optimal, and then you have what I just described. Being able to do everything in the most optimal sense always for the rest of your life is very, very, very hard. There's a few people on earth who can actually do this. And usually these people are, one-track people, meaning they can only do one thing for their entire life, and this is it. For the rest of us who want to make this a lifestyle and have this complement our life, again, IIFYM being the best prerequisite for this, you first have to look at who they are as a person and at what level of optimal do you think they could sustain. So for a practical example, my mother is and has always had trouble with her weight, with her diet, with exercise, knowing what to do, knowing where to look. Michelle, her father has had the same problem. Maybe not all growing up, but definitely in the later parts of his life, and same with my mom. Us being on the farther end of optimal, I'd say we do quite a bit more than the usual or the average person in terms of sustaining to something optimal for our growth, for our progression. But it would look nothing like what it would look like for, say, Michelle's dad or my mom. We have to look at them as individuals and what they do every single day and try to fit the most optimal sense of nutrition in training. It's probably not even going to be training. It's going to be walking. It's going to be mowing the lawn for a couple more strokes, or taking the dog around another block or two. This is the progression in their sense and progression in your client's sense, wherever they are. So don't just slap them. This is why we are so against the cookie cutter diet, cookie cutter programs, cookie cutter this, that. It's because everyone is an individual. Every good coach at least talks about this. Having an individualistic approach towards training and nutrition. Sometimes it's not even training. Sometimes it's just energy expenditure. Calories in versus calories out first and foremost. If that's the only thing they could adhere to, then so be it. It's still better than nothing. One is always greater than zero. So, Michelle's actually here with me. I know I just did that huge ass rant, but she's here. I'm sure she's got something to say.
So whether you're coaching someone or just helping someone, most of the time you're probably just going to be helping them get into the nutrition aspect. They probably don't want help for training, and it's a little bit more difficult to do this because you have more leeway with what they are actually adhering to in terms of expenditure.
Great point.
So this is something you do have to address with them too, because you want to be as accurate as possible to them. So I have multiple clients who are just nutrition only, and their check-ins look a little bit different than my other clients who also do training. Because they actually describe what their workout was like, since I don't write their program for them, and I have to know basically a ballpark of how many calories they're actually burning.
Yeah. So intensity here is going to be a huge factor, and this is why we stress so hard on tracking your weights and tracking your progression and how you progressively overload and in what sense. If it's going to be affecting your caloric expenditure, then that's awesome. But if your training doesn't, and you're just relying on your diet to do all the work for you, it's going to be a lot tougher of a ride, at least. You're going to have to fight your body a little bit more, per se. So yeah, that's a fucking awesome point. Thank you for that. Another on the individualistic approach, just like Michelle said, with if they even do training with you, this is going to be, man, it's tough. So this is where you come into play. You can't just slap them. So say they do train. Say they do go to the gym. Let's start with this first and foremost. I think we have a demo of people here that do lift and do take it somewhat seriously. So I'd like to at least start with that. We can go into the nuances of having a client who is purely nutrition. That's going to be you need to explain first and foremost the truth to them. That is it. Regardless of whether or not they want to work with you after that, whether or not they're going to work with you for a long time or not, tell them the truth. First and foremost, tell them the most optimal sense, where they fit along this scale of optimal, and then move from there. And make sure they know the truth that the entire trek. So wherever they're at, this is the balance of sugarcoating and actually getting the right information to people who actually are looking for it. There's always those people who think they're looking for it, but are not really willing to do what it takes. So but this is like black and white. Once you get to a certain point, you figure out where people are. But regardless, the truth is still there, and you are still the deliverer of truth. You are still the bridge to the gap of what these people are looking for, and this is the truth of nutrition and training, and it's very basic to a certain extent. So I guess we can hop right into. So say you have a client that goes to the gym, has gone to the gym for a year or two, just really getting into it, getting in the swing of things, does not know about macros. They come at you with a question, say, hey, I'd love to get into this lifestyle. I've heard a lot about it. Can you help me out? I would say from our perspective, this is where you give before you ever show that you're even an online coach. So this is where you give all the information up front, and they realize how in the dark they really are. And this is where they either go, wow, I'm not ready for this. I thought I was. I'll get back to you when I'm ready. Or this is where they go, wow, I didn't know this was, so in depth. I didn't know there was so much, so many nuances to this. So many things I need to know. Can you help me even further? And this is, then where you get into your whatever you have in terms of your approach to onboarding clients. But first and foremost, obviously I said that the truth is the most important there. I would highly advise giving the truth out, especially if they're just especially if they basically don't know about macros. I think actually Brian DaCosta, I saw a story of his yesterday. He mentioned and reiterated that it should not cost someone money to get their macros figured out. And this is an awesome point to make. Obviously we've made that point indirectly, but this is something that should be for free. It should be a human right to know, at least have the knowledge available to look or to control how you look, feel, and function. So that was a great point. I'm really glad he stamped that there, because this is he's among the coaching community as well, in the coaching industry in terms of physique. So it's a very good sight to see, and I'm glad he did that. Brian, if you're ever listening to this, props to you. We're definitely on the same page here. So with that, you get someone asking you, I just want to get into this lifestyle. I would say get them into it. At most, you're going to have someone later down the line that wants to work with you. This is just, again, ask yourself why do you want to be a coach? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to? If your answer is I want to help people, then you should help people. Period. You should help people. You should not be paid to help people. If you want to help people for the rest of your life, you should help people no matter what. That there's no, if there's no but. If that's what you want to do for the rest of your life, there should be no but. It's right along the lines of what your purpose is. What would you do for the rest of your life if money was not a thing? And then basically now we can do that, and we can scale that. So we don't want to be necessarily in the coaching industry, or we don't want to be known as coaches. We want to be known as people who just gave information out for free and got people on their feet. If you become that for your city, your state, your province, wherever you live in the world, you now become, a good resource. And we promise that things will just start happening for you in terms of your career, in terms of the direction where you want to go, and the opportunities that are afforded to you. It is all reliant on how much you can give. We've learned this, a while back. We learned this in the start of this actual community, IIFYM. It is only a thing because it was giving the truth in a palatable sense, in the most well put together, basically by accident, acronym that helps describe and get people on the right track. And this is why we're trying to spread this. Regardless of our coaching service, we will still be doing the same thing, which is giving out information. I think if you're an online coach, if you're just someone trying to get someone else into this lifestyle, just give them all the information, judge where they fall on, in terms of where they are optimally, and what they can optimally or sustainably adhere to in an optimal sense, and then work from there. So always go to the person, always have empathy when you're dealing with someone who really wants or needs help, but doesn't know how much it's actually going to cost them in terms of effort. So judge where they are and see just the baby steps they can take towards the most optimal sense. So if that makes sense, I can come around there. So yeah, the details further about onboarding clients and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps into getting into this lifestyle we've already covered. But in terms of your intent as a personal trainer, or why you're doing what you're doing, how to go about it, I hope that was of some help to you guys. Thanks. That good?
I think so.
Pretty informative, right?
Yeah, because I think it's actually interesting the way that you went on about it, because before we recorded this, I checked Instagram or whatever, and I saw a post by Paul Revelia, and it was like a meme thing about cookie cutter diets or whatever, and he was referring to the type of coaching that is out there nowadays and whatever, and what's dominant, and wow, there's less of the cookie cutter stuff that still exists, and this is the way to break away from that. So I think it's important for them to know that it is individualistic, not just through the formula, but by all the other factors.
100%.
So
I didn't really think about it till I was talking about it, but it's extremely important, because I was thinking in my head to go back and backtrack was the overall intent, why you even want to do this, or why you want to be an online coach, why you want to effectively use a good strategy to help people. And that should be the first and foremost, not to get results so you get more clients, so you get more money. It should be to help people effect on their life. They tell someone else, that effectively can have the same change. You do that for that person, and you spread by the word of mouth of results, which it all comes around, but the intent is where you need to focus, because that's going to get you through the ups and downs. That's going to make you a better person. That's going to, get you into heaven. It's just going to do a lot of things for you in terms of fulfillment, if your intent is right, especially in the career path, and where you spend most of your time. So that's going to be a huge, I wish I started with that instead of getting people to a certain point and saying, do you even belong here? Step back and ask that question. But ask that question first, if any of you got to this point.